into the Joy and Loving Family. I'm Bob Petiti, your host, and we're back once again with the five banditos. What is that? Four.
Amigos.
Four amigos. See, I can't even count. Thanks, Father. See, I knew you'd keep me in the straight and honest.
We always have to do that.
That's right. That's right. And this, keeping us honest, is Father Paul McCarty. And beside me is Paul Provencher and Laval Provencher. They're brothers and fathers, keeping them apart. But last time we had a few, not really. And we have the star of the show, Tom Starr.
Da, 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 da.
Boy, these guys are good, huh?
Yeah,
Huh?
those guys are good, right?
You folks are going to want us back. There's no doubt about it. And today we're going to do the third part of a series that we've started with revisiting the sexual revolution. Then we went to lust and fulfillment. And today is freeing up sex, free up sex. So you people don't want to miss any of this. And there's no commercials, so nothing's going to be missed.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we're going to have Laval give us a lead into freeing up sex. Oh, I should mention once again, all this series is based on a book that we had a book discussion on, Christopher West's book, Theology of the Body for Beginners. And I don't think I've mentioned in the past, he has a theology of the body that I understand is like 2 or 3 times the thickness of this. And I read this, and it takes some time to read and meditate on. So it's a good book if you want to follow up on our discussions here.
It's a good book in order to have a enlightening and grown-up and serious and worthwhile discussion about sex. That's what the book is good for, too.
That's right. And
Serious and worthwhile discussion about sex.
Right.
Well put.
Thank you.
Now we want to free up sex. What do
Now
we
we
mean
wanna
by that?
Okay,
Right.
well, before we went on, we were discussing as to what exactly that meant. We had some kind of confusion or disagreement amongst ourselves, but Tom, the star of the show, came through, and he picked out a quote from the book, and he said, I was the man to read this because I had done the first 2, so I'll do it again, but
You the man,
the credit goes to Tom. And this is
the Holy Spirit.
the Holy Spirit moved Tom. The Christian sexual the Christian sexual ethic, far from the cramped, prudish list of prohibitions it's assumed to be, is a liberating message of salvation that corresponds perfectly with the yearnings of the human heart. Food for thought. Who wants to pick up the ball?
What are we being freed up from or liberated
Oh,
from,
yeah.
according to all this? What are we being, the title is Freeing Up Sex. Okay. What are we freeing it from?
I thought we had free sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Tom Starr.
that's what we're used to, right?
That's what we're used to hearing
No,
about.
seriously, when we
Right.
say freeing up sex, I mean, it's like part of what Val just read there. People associated sex with something dirty, nasty, immoral. You don't talk about it. Nowadays, they don't talk about anything else. However, they don't talk about it in a very,
Open,
oh, they're open, but people,
Respect.
a very meaningful,
respectful.
serious, okay.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, yeah.
Dignified.
So we're trying to, freeing up sex, freeing it from a lot of, I think, kind of cockeyed or wrong understandings of what we mean by sex.
Yeah,
Or if you
narrow.
want to push it, what does God mean by sex? How come we are sexual beings? We believe, the story of creation and everything, we created male and female. We are, anyway. And so those are sexes, male and female. So we're talking about sex, yes. But what are we freeing it up from? not only prudery and all that, 19th century set of inhibitions and everything. Free from that, but free for what? What? Free for what?
Free to become what God intended.
I like that. Freedom to. Freedom to become what God intended us to be.
What do you think God intended us to be?
Happy, fruitful, fulfilled people.
Happy, fruitful, fulfilled,
Filled.
faithful people. All right.
Happy
People
people.
who are related to others. When sex becomes just selfish, then it becomes a prison, like it's
Yeah.
the prison of self. You
You're
gotta,
locked up in yourself.
yeah,
I like that.
it's gotta be relational. And then
Yeah.
when it's relational, it's
Ah,
free.
okay, good.
And it also, the freeing up is talking about it, just as we're doing.
Yeah, that
Once-
frees, that frees us from all those, what do you call them? Shame, inhibitions, and all that bad stuff.
Yeah,
So
seeing it
sex
as-
is beautiful,
Sex is beautiful.
yeah. And
Right.
sex is holy.
You know, just to interject here, that you think of some of the wonderful artists that had renditions of sex, and at one point in time, they'd, I shouldn't say sex, of the body they
The
had.
body,
And at one point in time, they covered them and so forth, and then they moved to the point of admiring them
right,
and seeing the value and the beauty of it all.
yeah, right. Fig leaf.
So that's freeing it up. You know, and that's what
Okay.
the theology of the body's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
To be respected and treasured in all forms. You have to stress that, in all forms, regardless of the form. You know, you just stop and think, you go visit any hospital and see people, the struggles of them trying to maintain themselves and the dignity that's given to that.
Bodily health, huh? Bodily beauty. Yeah,
Yeah, Val?
No, what we said about talking about it is freeing it up. I like to think that,
freeing us.
well, freeing up anybody who, talking about it is in a way freeing it up.
That's true.
I
Taking
like
it
to,
out of the
I like to
closet.
think
Yeah.
that there are people who hear us talking about this, might feel a little envious in the sense that, gee whiz, those guys are talking about this so openly and freely. I never thought about it that way, and
Right.
it's kind of nice to hear a topic like that discussed freely.
Right,
I'm not saying that people are all envious, but I'm simply saying
Right.
I really think that people must say, gee, that's kind of refreshing.
right.
Refreshing meaning freeing.
Yeah, because oftentimes, very often, there's a little bit of somehow of shame connected with sex or even talking about sex.
Right, as we
And
mentioned
that's
in
not
the,
what we're about.
in the first one, you know, this,
Right.
this discomfort, this embarrassment, this,
Yeah.
you know, that.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we don't talk about it.
Right.
But it's nice to talk about it. That's what I meant when you,
Oh, but we enjoy talking about it because it leads to better understanding.
Right.
There you
And that's, I was just picking out my favorite quote in the Bible. You know, it's that development of wisdom that inebriates you. I mean, it's, you really feel good about developing this understanding about the way things should be. You know,
The way things
it's-
are meant to be.
Right, and how can you possibly approach what they're meant to be if you don't even know what direction you're heading? Oh, the country's making lots of progress. Well, you're not making progress unless you're measuring it against a goal. And we don't even know what the goal is
Right,
unless we start asking the questions.
right.
And you ask the questions, and here, when our desire to understand the body and sexuality isn't met with a truth, we inevitably fall for the lies. And that's what we're being flooded with
Right.
now. It's just, you hardly even need to mention it. I mean, the culture is just flooding our senses. And if you don't even ask the questions and seek the answers, you just fall for the lies.
Right.
And it's to your detriment, to our detriment. We fail, we come up short when measured against what God had intended for us, the joy that God had intended for us.
Well, just chiming in on that, how many of us have had a discussion like this previous to this in our families? You know? Never happened with
No,
me.
no.
No, in fact, it's
So, you
almost,
know.
are you kidding me?
Right.
Or what?
But even to suggest to another person, your wife in this
Right.
case,
It-
you know,
Absolutely,
do you know what God intended for sex? You know?
right,
What's for supper?
Exactly.
right.
Yeah,
Sex.
let's talk about that at, later tonight, or let's
Right.
not even talk about it. You know, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
To talk in a grown-up, serious, respectful, free way about sex, sexuality. That's a liberation, huh?
There you go.
You don't have to like be sneaking around doing something suspicious, something you ought to be ashamed of, anything like that. Just sex, the way we've been talking about it is terrific. It's a gift. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
gift.
let's be adults about it.
But going back to this quote, it's interesting. It says that the Christian sexual ethic is a liberating message of salvation.
Yeah, how would we, and how does it get to be a message of salvation?
And it corresponds perfectly with the yearnings of the human heart.
Okay,
Well,
the
well,
yearnings of the human heart, okay.
We want
well,
full,
well, the ethic was the four characteristics that Christopher West defined it as: free, total, faithful, and fruitful.
Yeah.
So those are the ethics, and if you follow those ethics, there's a great salvation because you're free. You've found yourself following those principles that allow you to be free. That's the salvation that comes. You know yourself when you've done a good job and you've withstood the battering of trying to stay the course. There's a wonderful sense of salvation. I get through it, I withstood the
Pressures,
temptations that are put on us.
So-
You think of
Okay.
that. You think of the young people today, the temptations of, you have to have sex. There's a program out there, abstention, that they're trying to foster. And that is beaten down in schools, left and right, that they don't want it in the schools. Yet it's having a great deal of success, and there's a lot of younger people that are very proud to be able to say, I've abstained from my...
Yeah,
my
and that
mate.
ties right straight in with what you said a few minutes ago about the yearnings of the human heart. The human, if I may say so, I think that the deepest yearning of the human heart is for love, not just sex, love. But in the context we're talking about sex that is love,
Right.
sex that is wholesome and beautiful, faithful, fruitful, and all that you just said. Sex that is really beautiful and really appreciated. We're talking about, I think, like saying, well, sex, don't brush it off the table or something. Sit and think a minute and realize, as we have said here, this isn't some accident. This is a deliberate gift to us human beings to be sexual and to use our sexual powers. But it's such a strong, shall I say, instinct, a strong motivator that we can go off the tracks with it. We can fall this way, that way, the other way. And as you just said, when we feel like we're doing this the way it should be done, and we've succeeded in doing that, we feel like we've accomplished something really good, and something really serious, something really beautiful. That's